Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Grace-Filled Leader podcast, where we are helping women lead well, live well, and be well. And today we're diving into a question that revolves around the living and being well. And it might feel a little dramatic, but honestly, is stress killing you? All right, I know that sounds like something from a magazine in the checkout line, but I'm serious. Because while we know that stress isn't great, many of us are unaware of just how deeply it affects our health. Not just the stress we feel, but the stress we don't even know is there. And the inspiration for this show or this episode really came through some of my own history as well as all that I'm learning as I pursue my certification as a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. Now, I've always known that stress is harmful, but I don't think I fully appreciated all of the known and unknown stressors that are truly at the root of almost all of our health problems. Are you a busy woman in leadership who feels pulled in 1,000 directions? Do you wrestle with perfectionism, people-pleasing, or never feeling like you're enough no matter how successful you are on paper? Are you longing for more time, more peace, and more energy to live and lead the way God intended? Sister, you are right where you need to be. Hi, I'm Tanya, a wife, mom, healthcare leader, Christian life coach, and functional health practitioner. I spent decades hustling for my worth through achievement and approval, only to end up burned out and exhausted. But God showed me a better way, a grace-fueled way, and now I help women just like you break free from people-pleasing and overwhelm, lead well, live well, and be well. Here we blend spirit-driven success with practical leadership, wellness, and mindset strategies so that you can multiply your time and impact without sacrificing your health or your family. If you're ready to lead well, live healthier, and finally find the peace and purpose God has waiting for you, you are in the right place. So roll up your sleeves, sister friends. It's time to reclaim your time, restore your joy, and lead from grace. All right, let's start with the stress you already know about. The deadlines, the nonstop emails, the feeling that everyone needs you at work, at home, at church, and somehow you're expected to show up fully everywhere. For us as women leaders, it is constant. The long hours, the emotional load of caring for others, the difficult conversations, the decision fatigue, and let's be honest, the people-pleasing tendency we sometimes carry that make it hard to say no. And yes, I'm raising my hand here too. This kind of chronic stress does more than just make us tired. It kicks off a whole cascade of health effects. Elevated cortisol, hello, belly fat that won't budge, disrupted sleep patterns, blood sugar dysregulation, cue the cravings for carbs and sugar. Anybody up for the late night Snicker bar? It causes hormone imbalances, especially during perimenopause when many of us are already walking on a hormonal tightrope. And it also causes gut issues, bloating, constipation, IBS symptoms. Any of that sound familiar? But here's where it gets sneaky. There's the stress you feel, and then there's the stress that's operating under the radar. And I'm talking about hidden stressors. Now, you might be thinking, Tanya, I'm stressed, but I'm managing. I've got my to-do list, my planner, my vitamins, I'm fine. But what about the hidden stressors in your life? The ones we often don't even know are there. Things like chronic inflammation from foods that don't agree with your body. And sometimes, yes, even healthy ones can be foods that we're sensitive to. What about environmental toxins from plastics, skincare products, and even the air fresheners in your office? Pathogens and gut infections, parasites, candida overgrowth, or bacteria that your body is constantly fighting in the background. What about emotional trauma or unresolved grief, whether that's from childhood, from burnout, or just from carrying the emotional weight of leadership and caregiving for years. And what about the lack of margin in spiritual rest? We are not designed to be in go mode 24/7. Even Jesus withdrew to quiet places to rest and to pray. So when you combine the obvious stress with these hidden stressors, it is like pouring gasoline on a fire. Your body can only compensate for so long before symptoms start to show up. And sometimes they're subtle, and actually sometimes you don't even know that the symptoms are there. There can be a whole lot of bad going on before you ever notice a symptom. There's symptoms like brain fog, irritability, the cycle of insomnia and exhaustion, the feeling like you're holding it together but by sheer willpower and caffeine. But what's happening in the body? Let me give you just a quick little sciencey sort of rundown, but don't worry, I'll keep it fun. When we're under chronic stress, our sympathetic nervous system, otherwise known as our fight, flight, or freeze mode, is stuck on. Cortisol and adrenaline are flooding our system. At first, it might feel like we're powering through, but over time, this leads to adrenal dysregulation, where your energy tanks mid-afternoon, or you're wired and tired at night. It might lead to immune suppression. You get sick more easily, or you're fighting chronic low-grade infections. It can lead to thyroid issues because stress downregulates thyroid hormones. It causes mood swings and anxiety because stress depletes neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. And it causes strain on your heart, your cardiovascular system. We see elevated blood pressure and increased risk of heart disease. And if you've been feeling like your workouts aren't working or you're gaining weight despite eating less, stress could actually be the root cause. Your body literally holds on to fat as a survival response. Now, as a Christian woman, I also want to bring in what the world of medicine often misses. We were never created to live disconnected from God's design for rest and peace. Jesus says in Matthew 11:28, "Come to me all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Stress isn't just a physical issue, it is a spiritual one too. When we constantly strive in our own strength, trying to prove ourselves, to be everything to everyone, we're moving away from the rest that God offers us. Surrendering, trusting His provision, and finding rhythms of Sabbath rest, even in busy leadership seasons, is an act of obedience and of healing. So what do we do about all of this? Well, here are some simple, realistic steps that you can start to take this week. First of all, get curious about your hidden stressors. Begin to track how you feel, your energy, your mood, your digestion. You might even consider working with a functional practitioner who can help you explore underlying issues. And hey, just to put a plug in, a future functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner here. No, I can't work with you quite yet, but it's coming, so stay tuned. Number 2, prioritize your nervous system. Try to do some really good breath work, or a 5-minute quiet time, or a daily walk outside. Even deep breathing before meetings can shift you into a parasympathetic rest and digest state instead of a sympathetic fight and flight state. I actually have a therapist friend who taught me that you can actually shift between your sympathetic and parasympathetic system by alternating which nostril you breathe out of. So alternating putting your finger to one nostril and breathing and then switching to the other one. That it teaches your body to shift between the sympathetic and parasympathetic. Number 3, simplify your plate. Aim for whole, unprocessed foods that nourish without inflaming. Do not underestimate the power of blood sugar and nutrition when it comes to balance and stress. Number 4, create margin in your day. Look at your schedule. Where can you carve out space for rest? Even if it's 10 minutes of just nothingness, just sitting quietly. Number 5, bring it to God. Journal your burdens. Pray through your overwhelm. Ask the Holy Spirit to reveal areas where you've taken on too much and you need to surrender control. Number 6, you might want to consider some community support. Don't go it alone. Surround yourself with like-minded women who can remind you of God's truth when you are stuck in the trenches of stress. I'm going to review those 6 practical takeaways one more time. So, number 1, get curious about your hidden stressors. Number 2, prioritize your nervous system. Number 3, simplify your actual plate, like what you eat. Number 4, create margin in your day. Number 5, bring it to God. And number 6, get in community with others. Friend, this isn't about blaming you for being stressed. We live in a culture that glorifies busy, especially in leadership roles. But you are allowed to rest. You are allowed to be a human being, not just a human doing. Stress might feel normal, but it's not God's normal for you. Imagine living with more energy, clearer focus, less overwhelm, and better health, all while leading well and loving well. It is possible, but it starts with paying attention to what's happening in your body and your soul. Folks, if this episode spoke to you, I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me a message, share this episode with a friend, and stay tuned for more on this topic. We're going to be digging deeper into functional wellness and how it ties into your leadership journey in some upcoming episodes. Until next time, may you lead well, live well, and rest well, because you are so worth it. And as always, I pray that the Lord fills you with gratitude, peace, and His amazing grace. I pray this episode blessed you, spoke to you, or encouraged you in some way. If so, please share it with a friend and head on over to Apple Podcasts to leave me a review. That's the only way for me to know if you're enjoying the show. Nothing blesses me more than to hear from you. Also, come on over to our free Facebook community. This is a great place for us to support one another on our faith and leadership journeys. You can find the link to the group in the show notes or go to gracefilledleader.com/community. If you have questions or content ideas for the show, please send me a message on SpeakPipe or via email. Go to gracefilledleader.com/contact and leave a written or voice recorded message. I would love to know how I can best serve you on the podcast. Now to Him who can do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us. Ephesians 3, verse 20. Until next time, my friends, God bless.